Maneco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm back from Switzerland. I was supposed to be back Friday night, but we had a trouble at the airport. Our flight was canceled Friday night, British Airways flight from Geneva Airport, and we had to take a flight yesterday around noon from Geneva, and we only got back yesterday afternoon. So a little bit of a disruption. I'll talk about what happened in a minute when more people come on. We've got Billy. Billy's back. He's been well looked after by my daughter, so that's good. She had to treat his eyes. He needs to get eye ointment every day because he's got dry eye. So she did a good job. I see we got 27 people here. We've got SAC Media. Hi, SAC Media. Pabar from Seattle. Good morning, Pabar. Pablo is here. He's going to miss the first 30 minutes. That's a shame. You can always watch, it's recorded, and then you can always watch it later. And hopefully I'll still be here after 30 minutes. Probably will. Sean McDonald from Ohio. Yeah, I did, Sean. Mountains. Switzerland is a beautiful country. Yeah, it's a beautiful country. Very orderly. People follow the rules in Switzerland. That's why it works. That's one of the reasons why Switzerland works. The other, I think the other reason Switzerland works is decentralization. The central government in Bern is not that powerful. In Switzerland, you've got about 22 or 26 cantons, and within those cantons, they have counties. The counties in themselves are quite, they decide everything that goes on locally. So if, for example, where my sister and my brother-in-law and my mom and other sister live, there's no fast food because the local community there will never say yes to Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's or Starbucks. But you see, the central government in Bern, they can't overrule. So that's why Switzerland, in my opinion, is works. It's not a perfect place. My brother-in-law runs a family business, a hotel, which has been in his family for like over 100 years. But it's very hard work, he tells me. Employees in Switzerland, they get a lot of benefits. They get paid very well. My brother-in-law says it's very socialistic, but he has to work really hard, and my sister as well. They can't employ too many people to do to like manage the hotel. They have to do it themselves. So yeah, it's not a perfect place, but compared to other countries that I've been to and lived in, Switzerland's still in good shape. Neil from Houston. Yeah, I was talking about that, Neil. Yeah, Switzerland is like beautiful. Even the small farms when you're driving up from Geneva, the farms in the mountains, it's almost like a golf course. The farmers cut the grass for the cows very, very nicely. It's almost the golf course throughout, even though it isn't. D says, do you think we should take stocks from our brokerage account in certificate form? If you can, yeah. I'm not sure that's possible anymore. But yeah, that's how it used to be done in the past. You could check with your broker if you can do that. They might charge you for that. But yeah, it would be much safer because everything is done now electronically. And I think there's one central clearing. I forgot the name in the US. They basically hold all the stocks for everyone, and they can, by holding your certificates as well electronically, they can use that to lend out to people so they can short stocks as well. So if you do that, they probably won't like it. It's like taking physical delivery of gold from an ETF, which isn't really possible unless you have a big amount. Steve from West Sussex just got Jim Rickards' Aftermath, Falling Out from the Road to Ruin. Yeah, I haven't bought Aftermath by Steve Jim Rickards. Sorry, Steve. I mean, my title of this video or this live stream is about fiat currency and the road to ruin. I mean, going to Switzerland convinces me more and more that if I can, because it's very hard, because in the UK we earn in pounds. But I remember, because I've been going to Switzerland for many years, and I used to live in Switzerland, moved to London in 1992. At the time, one pound was 2.40, 2 francs 40. It did dip a bit in the ERM crisis in 1992 to below 2.40, but then it rebounded. And up until the 08 crisis, the pound fluctuated between 2 francs and 2 francs 40. This time going to Switzerland is like almost 1-to-1. So things that are like a coffee, you pay like 4 francs 50. It's like £4.50 for a coffee. In the UK, a coffee is £2. Is it because Switzerland is expensive? Partly, but it also goes to show how they're just destroying the currency here. Not that the Swiss aren't destroying their currency either. They are, but not as fast as the Bank of England and the government here in the UK. In 08, the Swiss franc was 600. The ounce of gold was 640 francs. Now it's about 1,400. So the Swiss have devalued as well. Hi, Lord Humongous. I didn't pick up any gold francs. No, I didn't. I do have Vrenelies. They're like the 20 Vrenelies. They're like the 20 franc coin, like the French coin as well. I didn't pick any up there. Yeah, local is best, Davina. That's right. Switzerland is quite decentralized, but as my brother-in-law said, Switzerland's still very socialistic as well. But you won't see people out, begging for food in Switzerland. You won't see, maybe in the big cities, but you won't see in the small town people sleeping rough in Switzerland. So yeah, that doesn't mean to say there aren't rich people as well, but everyone has there is like a floor in terms of standard. Pat says fiat currency will never die, it will only change its face to fool us. I think the fiat currencies always die, Pat. They eventually, look at Zimbabwe, look at Latin America, look at Brazil where I grew up. They're on their 4th fiat currency since I've been born, probably. I think, yeah, they might change the name, but versus real money, the money of kings, which is gold, and the money of gentlemen, which is silver, it's going to continue to go down. And that's why, I think it made me, it's good sometimes to get out of the routine, go visit people, go to another place. I'm fortunate that I can do it to realize what's going on. But it's not only in the UK, Switzerland, they're doing the same. They've been devaluing, they have negative interest rates. In the UK, we still have positive interest rates, barely, which is 0.75%. And everyone's blaming, everyone talks about Brexit, the mainstream. And in the US, it's like the trade wars. But the reason why these currencies are going to continue to devalue is that they have to keep rates at zero, because we've created so much debt to bail out Wall Street in the City of London and people who borrow too much back in 08, 09, that the only way to keep servicing this debt is either to let it collapse, which they won't let collapse, So the other way is to just keep creating more of it, keep rates artificially low, and that's going to continue to make the general public suffer. It's like boiling them in, boiling the frog. One day it's all going to like collapse, implode, hyperinflation. And I'm convinced more than ever that people that can should have precious metals as protection. I'm convinced more and more. It doesn't mean to say that I think gold is going to go to 2000 next week. It's going to be very volatile, but I think we've had the breakout and gold looks good. I've been looking at some charts of other gold and other currencies, and they're breaking out in major currencies like the pound, Aussie dollar, Japanese yen. I'm going to publish the videos tomorrow. In my video tomorrow morning, I will talk about that. So let's have a look at some questions. Al Weiner, Zero Hedge, floored, new QE. Are you buying Bitcoin or just gold? Hi, Efren. I do have Bitcoin. Yes, I do have Bitcoin. I have some other alt currencies as well. I've switched some of my crypto holdings around. I've got quite a bit of Bitcoin as well. I think Bitcoin and other cryptos are going to do well, but I still am more of a, I believe more, I think cryptocurrencies are more speculative, but they will continue to do well. You need to be prepared to sit through huge swings. You can Cornelius, when dollar goes to zero, yeah, all the other fiat currencies are a derivative of the dollar. We're still in the post World War II system, and all the exchange rates are based on that Bretton Woods agreement. They're not the same, of course, because they've been floating, but they all are derived from that agreement at Bretton Woods. So yeah, the dollar is probably going to take, dollars performing a little better because it's still the reserve currency. There's still demand for it more than other currencies. But yeah, they will all go to zero except, gold and silver and other tangible assets. Hugh Beef says gold has to go to more than 2000. Currency exchange rates may be the most not understood factor. Gold will hit the old high. Yeah, I mean, the old high is around 1921. And I think the other currencies are like already making new highs. They're breaking the old highs, and they're all major currencies. And I think the dollar is just running a little, sinking a little slower, but it will. And I agree with you. I don't know when it will hit 2000. I think it will do it before the end of this year. Do you think they will cut rates again this year? Yes, the Fed will cut rates, in my opinion, again. They could do it, I think is the next meeting is in about 5 weeks' time, September 18th or 17th. Orgus Kagan, do you think gold back to 1450 or less for a while? Yeah, in the short term, gold could go 1450, 1400, but it's difficult to say. I think it closed, not sure where it closed. Let's have a look here. Yeah, we closed at just below 1500. Yeah, which is quite good actually. I just realized, I did follow the market while I was away, but yeah, we just closed around just below 1500. Yeah, we could go to 1450 again, but I think it still looks good. 1510 is the key resistance now. That was the high last week. and I think there's an old low from before we went down in 2013. It's around 1525. So there's going to be a bit of resistance there. If we go through 1525, look out above, I would say. D. Mitch. Glint is the best way to convince people to protect themselves. At least they can spend it and protect themselves at the same time. D. Mitch, yeah, I agree with you. I do have Glint. I prefer having the majority of my gold and silver physical, but Glint is a good alternative because you can actually use the money that you earn, the fiat money, wherever you are, to transfer it. After you pay your bills, you can transfer some of it to your Glint and leave it there a bit, small savings. If you don't have enough to buy an ounce of gold, you can buy a few grams. And I think it's convenient. I actually don't have that much in my Glint at the moment. I've had a bit before, but I actually paid for, when I was flying back British Airways, they charge you now for the food. And I paid for my sandwich and my drink and some crisps on the plane with my Glint card. So I actually used gold at 30,000 feet this weekend. So there you go. For any of you who don't know, like Rick61 is asking, Glint is a debit card, prepaid MasterCard, where you can buy gold. You send your dollars or pounds, and then there's a Glint app, and you can convert that to gold. Glint holds its gold allocated in a vault, a Brinks vault in Switzerland, in your name. So every time you if you spend a gram of gold, or if you buy something for $5, it will take out in grams of gold. So you can spend as little as $1 in gold, or you can leave it there. Yeah, and they are sound. I have met the people. I do vouch for them, and that's why I have done some videos with them, and that's why I've got the promo code, which is Mario Glint 79. Where, let's write it here, Mario. Yeah, so yeah, if you do open a Glint account, use that promo code Mario Glint 79. Hi, Typo. They're not an algorithm. No, Glint. They let's say no, they're not an algorithm. They hold your physical gold in Switzerland. So let's say if you have $100 worth of gold and you spend $50. The exchange will be done almost instantaneously with a foreign exchange bank, and they've got access to the bullion banks and the foreign exchange banks. So they will do that FX from dollar to gold instantaneously, and they will debit your gold account. But it's held physically, allocated in your name in Switzerland, and if let's say the banking system collapses, your gold's still there. But if you were to change the gold, the money in your Glint card from gold to, let's say, dollars or pounds, then your money is still in your name in the banking system, but not protected. If all the banks were to collapse, then you'd lose that money, but not your gold, because held in a vault outside the banking system. But only when you do the transaction from gold to fiat, yeah, that gets exposed to the banking system. But you're already spending, you're buying something. Some more questions. Do you think the U.S. or world will go back to a gold-backed economy? Rick, I don't think they will, but they will have to reset the financial system to gold. I was looking at this, reading this book. I haven't finished it yet. Gold, War and Gold. I was reading a little bit on the plane, and there's a section here in the back about, and it says value of gold stock to world GDP. So if you see here, and it talks about the ratio of total value of world gold stock to world GDP. So back in 1980, when gold went up to 850 an ounce and the Dow bottomed around 850 and the ratio is 1 to 1, the percentage of all the gold in the world to world GDP was 19%. Back in 2010 at 1250 gold and the GDP at 64.5 trillion was 12%. I haven't looked at the current data, but it must be less than 10%. So what I think will happen is that there will need to be a revaluing of the value of gold and world GDP. Looking at here since 1920, back in 1940, it was at 20%. It was at 4% in 2000. I think we need to go, so in the last 100 years, the most that they've backed world GDP by in terms of gold was 20%. I think, we've had the biggest bubble the last 12 years. And I think it's going to need to be more than 20% for people to gain confidence back in the system once things get crazy. So I would say at least 20%. I will look into that, and I'll probably do a video about that. So I don't think they're going to back the currencies with gold, but they're going to have to revalue gold. Yeah, it's like being the difference is that I wish we had a totally physical 100% gold and silver system without fiat currencies. But I don't think people are prepared to do that, the powers that be, and I don't think people understand it well enough. That would be great. The only problem with this rebalancing, let's say to 20 or 30% of GDP, is that it would eventually, they would abuse it again. So it would, but if you fix it and you only have 100% gold and silver, then the chances of inflating the system are not as high. Either way, I think it's a good good asset to have, whatever they do. Yeah, Billy just jumped off. He's gone to the pub. Billy loves Guinness, drinks Guinness. Yes, Steve. Yeah, Glint. They launched on the 29th of July in the US. Hi, Graham. I haven't looked into the present numbers. I think in 2012, we got up to 12%, but I think GDP has gone up more worldwide than gold. So I think we're probably, I need to do the calculations. I haven't done it yet. That's a subject for a video. It's probably less than 10% right now, I would say. So we still need to go up higher. I'll do a video about that. And I'll also, do it probably do it tomorrow, and I'll talk about the chart of gold in all the different currencies, how they're making new highs. Typo, yeah, I guess you could back all the debt with gold as well. They're looking just at GDP, so it could be even higher. Do gold in Fort Knox? Yeah, I think there is gold in Fort Knox, but not as much as they say. Or I think a lot of that gold is probably, how can I say, encumbered. It's been leased out, but they can always buy back the leases. Uh, L. Wiener or Weiner, Wiener, I would say. What are your thoughts on Chase forgiving Canadian Chase card debt? Uh, I saw that headline. I think it was on Zero Hedge. I haven't read the story. I was quite surprised. Chase, JP Morgan Chase forgiving all Canadian credit card debt. Uh, I haven't really read that story. Is it true? I don't know. Are JP Morgan Chase, are they big with credit cards in Canada? I don't know. It could be that it's a small operation, but I haven't read the story. I think I saw a question earlier. Sometimes it's difficult to see all the questions because there's quite a few people here, 173, which is good. I think there was a question about what's his name, Jeffrey Epstein. That's another thing that I don't talk too much about, politics and those kinds of subjects, but I think it is important. I think in a monetary basis, this story, because it just goes to show how the political establishment is so corrupt. Because definitely most of you, I think most people don't think he committed suicide, right? Either he's been shipped somewhere on a witness protection program to Israel or somewhere like that, or they suicided him. So it just goes to show that they want that off, the spotlight, that subject. It just goes to show that we can't trust the people running, the system. You can't trust law enforcement, in my opinion. Uh, not that some law enforcement people aren't trustworthy, but I think it's really bad. And in a fiat currency system, fiat currencies are based on the rule of law. If you don't have the rule of law and things are like screwed up, precious metals do even better because gold and silver are they're not corruptible. They're just metals there. But paper currencies are run by politicians and bankers, and this just goes to so I think this is even another reason why we need to keep a hold of precious metals. It would be great if we could earn in precious metals, but we can't. We're earning in fiat, and we have paid taxes in fiat because I think it's going to get worse. Even in Switzerland, the Swiss are going to find every country in the world. It's going to be harder and harder to get by. Jason Johnson, if a system resets to a gold-backed currency, yeah, I don't think it will reset to a gold-backed currency. They'll just let the price of gold go to a level where they think will bring confidence back into the system. I think interest rates are important as well. They might have to let interest rates rise again. That's the other reason why the fiat currencies are getting destroyed. Uh, and not unfortunately, but I don't think the central bankers nor the politicians have the stomach to let interest rates really rise to get the system back running properly, because what that would mean is a really deep recession. Like the UK, for example, our currency is just going down the tubes. The only way they can give the currency more strength and is to raise interest rates, and they're never going to do that. Not right now. If anything, people are cutting rates. The Kiwi central bank cut by 50. I think others followed, and others are going to follow. We had UK GDP that came out for the second quarter. That was negative quarter on quarter. That's the first time in a while. And if we get another quarter of negative GDP, it's a recession, which I think we are in anyway. But I forgot who asked me that question about the gold backing, but I think we shouldn't worry about gold backing or anything like that. We should just worry and know that we need to have our own personal gold standard. That's personally how I think. Have your own gold standard. And also, I'm wearing today. Keep stacking and take control of your money supply. That's one of my t-shirts in the Maneco Teespring store, and I've got a Rothschild 50-gram bar here. So it's kind of a pun on what Rothschild said about the money supply, but this is keeping. Uh, Sam, what's the subject? He asks in French. C'est quoi le sujet? We speak about precious metals, markets, economics. That's what we talk about here. Currencies. Gary Croft says, hi, Mario, I've just redeemed 10 grams of gold from my Glint card. I'll post a picture when it arrives. Yeah, I saw in the app, because I hadn't looked at it, that you can redeem 10 grams of gold. That's the minimum that they will redeem. Yeah, keep us posted, Gary. Yeah, Deutsche Bank. I mean, Deutsche Bank has been in the news for the last 3 years, and it's like a zombie bank. Keeps going. Bunker rates, is that like bunker is like the fuel oil for ships, isn't it, Lee or L Wiener? Yeah, bunker. That means that shipping is going, slowing down. World trade is slowing down. Yeah, Baltic Freight Index and all that shipping. Yeah, I think the whole world economy is slowing down. They are blaming it on Brexit. They're blaming it on the trade wars, but it's just the way things are. Is the credit cycle. People, and like some other people have said that low rates are not going to help this time, and I agree with them because people have been borrowing so much already. Thank you, No 40th to like and to share this in, live stream. Yeah, thanks for that. Rick 61, I don't think a government crypto is possible because cryptos are supposed to be decentralized. And so they might call it a crypto, like Facebook calls Libra a crypto, but it's not a crypto. They might use the technology, but it will be centralized. So don't buy into it. D. Mitch thinks the 10-year yield will go back up to 2.4%. It could. It's been dropping quite. I tend to think it's going to keep dropping, but I think it's around 1.7 right now. The Observator. Are you familiar with Voltoro? And if so, do you recommend they're based in Switzerland? I think I've heard of them, but I can't really say more than that. Girl OG always hoped for higher gold price, but now I hope they go down again. People aren't ready for a collapse. Um, I don't think the majority of people will ever be ready. So, yeah, I mean, I'm starting to also. It is kind of worrying, but that's why we've been preparing, right, girl OG? It's going to be very, very rough on a lot of people, but that's why I've been doing my videos for the last, well, since end of 2015. So 3.5 years, almost 4 years, trying to warn people. Very few people want to listen. I mean, I do have quite a few subscribers, but it's a drop in the ocean. Sam Sam says he can't understand. I'm sorry, Sam Sam. This is an English speaking chat or live stream. Satoshi Nakamoto, yeah, that's the supposed the guy who wrote the white paper for Bitcoin. Graham Hobbs says, "I'm so glad I found you, but I wish I'd found you 6 months ago." Well, I don't think it's too late to start protect. Ever, it's never too late to start protecting yourself with precious metals. Yeah, you might get some, and it might go down, but over the long term, you just like try to dollar cost average. I think. Who is the image? I don't know who holds the most Bitcoin. Peter Oitzinger thinks Bitcoin was a U.S. government invention. They'll ban it when they're ready to. Maybe, there's a lot of speculation. A lot of people think the NSA wrote something about cryptocurrencies back in the 90s. What's his name? Bix Weir thinks that Alan Greenspan is Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't think so. But maybe they did it to try to stop people from getting into precious metals, but I don't think they're going to succeed. Precious metals are still the place to be, in my opinion. Uh, I do have some cryptocurrencies, though, as more as speculation. If they went to zero tomorrow, yeah, it wouldn't be nice. I would lose some money, but it wouldn't. I would be fine. I would still be sleeping peacefully and soundly. The observatory. Do you recommend a bullion and or coins? I think what you mean by bullion is bars, because there are bullion coins and there's also old coins which circulated. It depends. If you're worth $100 million, yeah, you have to. I would recommend those 400-ounce bars and keep them in stored somewhere privately in Switzerland. But if you have $1,000, uh, yeah, buy 2 half-ounce coins or buy 4 sovereigns. Sovereigns are about quarter of an ounce. So it all depends. It's all about, you just have to do your homework like I did and just see what you prefer. There is no, proper ratio. Oh, Pablo's back. Yeah, he's asking about the Hong Kong protests. I haven't really looked deeply into it. I know that it started out because Hong Kong wanted to pass this extradition law, which would allow them to extradite anyone they want. If the Chinese government in the mainland wanted to prosecute someone, Hong Kong would extradite that person. Right now, they can't do that. They can't extradite criminals to mainland China. And that's what the protest is over. It's because the Hong Kong public doesn't want that, because Hong Kong, even though it's part of China, it has a special status. So, but I mean, You guys know that I subscribe to The Economist. I actually don't read it too much. I won't renew it at the end of the year, but the magazine that I got this week is this one here. How will this end? So I'm going to read over this about Hong Kong. What's at stake in Hong Kong? But I think that's what it's about. It's the fact that the Chinese are trying to get more control of Hong Kong, uh, and in this case, it's through the legal system. Yeah, Hong Kong. I mean, they've kept pretty much the system prior to the handover from the British to the Chinese, and the legal system is quite Western. It is a place where they financially is quite important for Chinese companies that want people from abroad to invest. So yeah, it's a very important financial center, not only for China but the whole world. So it's important to keep an eye on it. Yeah, Lord Humongous. Yeah, The Economist is partly owned by the Rothschild family, but it's also partly owned by the Agnelli family, the family behind Fiat uh, cars, automobiles in Italy. They're the biggest shareholders, actually, the Fiat Agnelli family, the Fiat group. Remember WWG1, WGA together. Thumbs up, people. Let's help the channel. Yeah, thank you. Rick 61, 1 ounce of silver will buy a great homestead with harvestable land. Yeah, I think silver has, I have silver as well. I think silver is going to catch up to gold. Yeah, Lord Humongous, fiat money gets you a fiat auto. Yeah. Johnny BTV, how do you fix the derivative market? You don't fix it. You ban it. Derivative market is just a casino. It doesn't really create any social value or any economic value, in my opinion. The reason there is a big paper derivative market is because the fiat money system is so unstable and people need to hedge. But prior to the 1970s, derivatives were something that was just traded on commodities, agricultural commodities. And then in that field, I think it's justified for farmers and producers to hedge their exposure to crops and other things that are natural. But even Jim Rickards says that derivatives need to be banned, um, or they need to ban banks from trading derivatives. They were banned in the US until 1999 under Glass-Steagall. So big, but if you want to speculate, yeah, you can speculate with derivatives, but you're not going to be bailed out. And that's the problem. These banks are still speculating in derivatives. They've got hundreds of trillions in notional exposure. And I don't think tokenizing derivatives will change anything. I think it's wrong. I think it's stupid as well that we have derivatives in the cryptocurrency market in all these exchanges, that they do futures. They like to do. I think we should try to focus more on less derivatives. This is coming from a guy who actually worked as a futures and options broker. So exchange traded derivatives. I don't think, yeah. So just get rid of them or ban them from banks where they're supposed to. Yeah, that's. Oh, Jake Jones is here. He's from Hong Kong. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jake, someone asked what's been going on in Hong Kong, and I said that all the troubles stem from the fact that the Hong Kong government wanted to allow this new law to come into fruition. This law to extradite people from Hong Kong to China, and that's why how the protests started. I think that's what it is, isn't it? And it's just snowballed. Lori Humunga says, "Glad you're back. Have a good and had a good trip." Oh yeah, I had a good trip. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be back home as well. I'll see you later, Lord Humongous. Force majeure is China army outside Hong Kong. Yeah, I don't think they're talking about maybe having to use the army in Hong Kong, but I don't think it's there now. V Bjorn Gritton, do you think cryptos can collapse if we get a quick move up in price in gold and silver? Not really. I don't think. Not necessarily. I don't think so. Jake Jones, a guy who lives in Hong Kong, just says it started like that, like I said about the extradition law. And now he's saying, but now it's really changed. He says, I believe it's all symptoms of the falling monetary system. So there you go. Interesting. And it's falling everywhere, Jake. As you probably know, I was away last week in Switzerland, and it just goes to show to me that I need to keep a hold of my gold and silver as much as possible. Because if I had pounds instead of silver, I would feel really poor right now. Because that's how I felt in Switzerland when you have to pay about £5 to £6 for a cup of coffee. And even though the Swiss have devalued as well, they haven't devalued as fast as the UK. But I think it's going to be everywhere. D. Mitch, why are the most labeled communist countries like the most free countries? Well, I think there's a lot of propaganda all around. They need to make other countries look bad. Um, yeah, I think there's much more of a welfare state in the West than there is in China. I think that's why the Chinese save so much, is because the state doesn't guarantee a cradle to grave like they do in Western Europe. I might be wrong, but I think that's one of the reasons. That's true. Maybe Jake Jones can tell us a little more about that. Uh, Jonas Van Pook, did you read the article of negative rates loans for houses in Denmark? That's how the decline of the euro will happen very fast. Yeah, I saw that headline. I think it's the third biggest bank in Denmark. I think they've already been issuing negative interest rate mortgages. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. They really want to keep the system going, but it's not sustainable. I think it's crazy, and it's going to end in tears. Peter Oettinger Epstein was buried at sea, like like that guy from Saudi Arabia, yeah, Osama. I agree, Jake. That's why I try not to depend so much on all these governments, be they communist, supposedly democratic, or whatever, or socialist. I try to be my own government. And of course, you need to deal with them, but I try to keep it to a minimum. and not depend on them. Stay away from them. The incredible thing, I don't know if you guys have looked, you can Google and Scribd, SCRIBD. Just Google Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book. The people in there, it's just like amazing. No wonder the guy was suicided. And I'm not too sure, because there's a lot of people who think Trump has nothing to do with him, but I think it goes very deep. I think Trump is, I might annoy people by saying that, but I think he's part of this deep state, Trump. He's just an actor pretending that he's not, so he can do things that people would, otherwise not accept. Dak says Trump was cleared in '08, but I recommend you guys watch what's it called now? I forgot now, but there's a lot out there. There's a photo from the late '80s of Donald Trump with Robert Maxwell, who was the father of the Ghislaine Maxwell, who's like a associate of Jeffrey Epstein. So Trump is friends with all these people. So I don't know. Yeah, Vibjorn, Gritton, I think cryptos have held back precious metals a bit the last few years, but I don't think they'll be able to hold back precious metals for much longer. That doesn't mean that to say that cryptos don't have a bright future either. Yeah, I agree, Jonas. It's just a circus, and he did that show, didn't he? I forgot The Apprentice. So he's a good actor. Force majeure, has Germany printed marks? Back in 2011, 2012, uh, there were a lot of stories, rumors that they were. Like I knew a jeweler in the city of London, a guy who I bought gold from, gold coins, a jeweler. He knew people at De La Rue, that is a company in the UK that prints banknotes. And one of his friends at that company said that the Germans were printing Deutschmarks back in 2011 when it looked like the euro was going to collapse. And then in 2012, of course, Mario Draghi came out and said, "We'll do whatever it takes to save the euro." So yeah, those Deutschmarks are probably still around somewhere stored. Uh, and that's why people buy German government bonds, because if the euro were to collapse, the German government bonds would be payable in Deutschmarks. That's why they buy the Dutch state loans, which is the equivalent of the bunds, from Holland. All right, I'm going to call it a day now. Been here for almost an hour. I think 54 minutes is good. I enjoyed the chat with you guys. Hopefully, I'll do these more regularly. They're good, and we can talk about everything. Of course, that we everything, markets, economics, precious metals, geopolitics, and thank you for participating and asking the questions. And I'll be talking to I'll be sorry. I'll be talking to you tomorrow. I'm back now, so Yeah, it's nice to be back home. It was nice to to go to Switzerland to see my family, and I played golf today as well here in the UK, and I actually won today, so that was good. Uh, and that's good because my handicap is quite low, so it's difficult to beat the higher handicaps. But today I did. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good weekend. In the case of Jake, have a good Monday. He's in Hong Kong. And take care, everyone. Bye. How do I turn this off now? Hi, Peter. I'm trying to log out here. There's usually a button which I click because I've ended the live stream. Um, so, no, I don't do that much trading right now. Yeah, Jake. Well, let's keep talking a little bit. Just can't find. There's usually a thing that I click on to end it, not come up. Alt 4.